Good evening, I'm Jeff Lyons. This is the 14 First Alert Weather Show at 9:02. Well, we got everything worked out, so I'm glad you're here tonight. I'm watching your comments on the 14 News Facebook page, so if you have anything you want to chime in with, you can certainly do it there. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have too. Of course, we stream every night at 9 o'clock, it should be, or shortly thereafter. Well, we have a beautiful night out there. Of course, it's clear, and temperatures are going to fall into the upper 50s tonight. This morning we got down to the 40s, 49, so it will become increasingly warmer as we move through the week, or the week's end, and sunny and dry, of course, as we go. And that means our fire risk will increase across the area. Already we have a burn ban in Spencer County, and we will likely see additional burn bans out across the region as these dry days start to pile up on us. Other than a few clouds coming through, we're not looking at any impactful weather for the next several days, just unseasonably warm and not as humid as we had during the summer. Our rain chances are 0 through the weekend and may start to pick back up a bit by the first part of next week. It's still very comfortable out there with the dew point in the middle 50s. It's kind of cool, nice out there. You can check out the moon here in a little while, which is now a waning gibbous moon. It was full here a couple days ago. The temperatures are going to be the big story as we climb into the middle 90s perhaps over the weekend. Low temps will rise into the middle 60s because of increasing moisture in the air and also those extra degrees on the back end there in the afternoon. Rain potential through Tuesday is pretty paltry both on the GFS and European. We are basically back in a block high omega block kind of thing, kind of like it with high pressure right over this part of the country and everything kind of going up and over. Eventually we will pick up that southerly fetch of Gulf moisture, and that's where the humidity will come from as we get into the weekend. Current temps now very comfortable in the mid to lower 60s in the north and in the middle 60s to around 70 there, 72 at Owensboro. We hit 82 today for our high, and that makes this the first day that we've broken back out into the 80s since last week. Last time we felt 90 degrees was toward the end of August, right around the 19th or so. We had 98, the hottest day of the year, and then we kind of dropped off there into the 70s. Of course, no rainfall. Our September stats still looking very dry for the month, or drier and cooler than normal too. The U.S. Drought Monitor updates on Thursdays, but I'm going to show this again because it shows that we have this moderate drought now over the tri-state. What that means is that we've had a prolonged spell of dry weather, and even though we had rain last week in spots, it wasn't a widespread soaker. So growing conditions not great. We are entering the end of the growing season. I was out today on my bike and saw cornfields already combined. So, we're kind of there at this point. For tomorrow, we will see that temperature rise into the middle 80s during the afternoon, and it will stay sunny, of course, across the board. Active weather is around the periphery of the high, which is sitting here. So you have all your storms, kind of that ring of fire back there over the Rockies and up into the northern Wisconsin and UP of Michigan, up toward Lake Superior there in the north. The tropics are pretty sleepy. We have had several waves come off the African coast, and but they have not turned into anything. Same with the Caribbean. We've had a few little storms roll through, but nothing that kept going to become a tropical storm or hurricane. And we have just typical thunderstorm activity across the peninsula there of Florida. So longer range, and this is the 16th through the 22nd now of September. The hot zone here, the best chance for any kind of tropical development is still well to our east off the coast of Africa and then down in the Baja and into the Pacific and maybe the Gulf. I mean, those are pretty normal suspects this time of the year. Storm chances will stay to our west. You see here going through Wednesday, Thursday, really nothing interesting there. It's interesting though, we do show a chance of a shower or thunderstorm, a stray one, on Thursday. I hope that plays out, but we're not really seeing anything convincing on the models. Remember yesterday, the model here that I'm showing you, the station model here, which is called the graph, actually was generating some rain on Thursday, and I think it still is right now. Let me look here. We'll roll it back there. It kind of zipped past, and this thing updates usually about now, so maybe we got some new data. Yeah, it's really not showing anything of note there across the area, so I'm not thinking we're going to see too much in the way of certainly not widespread rainfall. Longer range on the GFS and European, we stay dry through the weekend. Things may shift a bit next week as we get a couple things going on. We may have a tropical system working up the coast by then, and according to the GFS. This is long range now, so we'll have to watch that. And then the European model, of course, dry through the weekend too, and maybe a little rain there Sunday afternoon, Monday, again by the European. But the overall pattern is just not conducive to rain. Next week it breaks down a little bit, and that I believe is why the Euro is kind of picking up on some rain there perhaps. So we will again keep our fingers crossed. We do a lot of finger crossing this time of the year when we want rain. 58 tonight with clear skies. Highs tomorrow will climb into the 80s, about 88 or so. Some of you might have 90 before the day is done. And then on the 7-day forecast we have that very dry spell there and hot too. Longer range temperatures will remain well above normal all the way through next week, and we have rainfall well below normal too. Our pet pick tonight, this is Taylor Glazer. I think Taylor sent the picture in. She didn't tell us the dog's name, but it was titled, "It Must Be Monday." Dogs don't like Monday. I know a lot of people that don't like Monday either. All right, let me see what your questions and comments are here. Got a couple in there. And let's see. Can you tell me what the weather will be for Cape Cod next week? Betty Hagedorn. Sure. Let's have a little look. We'll go back here to the GFS model. And you said next week. So again, this will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I guess that's far enough into next week. If the tropical system develops down here, and of course you said Cape Cod, which is right up there in Massachusetts, it will, you know, if that comes to fruition, you could get some big waves and surf up there. But at least by the GFS, and we'll look at the European here too, we're not seeing much in the way of rain up there in New England. And as far as the this is the European here. Hopefully that'll load. There it goes. And that's going to be a little bit too close in. We'll have to move it out. All right. See, that's what we can do here on the Weather Show. We can build your personal forecast. Let me get the camera angle changed out a little bit here. So there's Cape Cod. I'm going to keep the perspective kind of wide here. Okay, so you see Cape Cod, and then this is Tuesday. Same thing, maybe some tropical action. I'm sorry, this is today. Let's go to the weekend now, next week. And the European is bringing some rain up into Cape Cod, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we have a split decision there, right? The European is giving you rain, the GFS is not. At this stage in the game, of course, it could go either way. I know that's of no help to you whatsoever. I lean toward the European. It tends to perform a little better, longer range for us. And I think it's reasonable to expect some kind of, you know, storms or tropical system, maybe not a full-blown tropical storm or hurricane, but something moving up the coast there. All right, so I hope that works out for you in Cape Cod. It's beautiful up there. Take that boat out to Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard. Always fun. All right, let's see here. Cheyenne Hammond says, good evening, Ricky Brown. Doesn't want the heat. Okay. I told Betty Hagedorn what it was going to be like. William Raleigh, more interested in the tropics, starting to look interesting, something to watch. Yeah, you know, it should, if there's going to be anything going on in the tropics, this is typically when it happens, you know, when we get here toward September. So definitely worth watching, and things can change in a heartbeat. Laura Gray's watching from Dawson Springs this evening. Where's Mo Malone? How are you doing, Mo? Good to have you on here tonight. All right, Chris Smith, if no hurricane landfall, it will affect, how will the winter be? Chris wants to know if we don't have a hurricane, how will the winter be? I don't think they're related. We could, have a landfalling hurricane and still have a miserable winter. We could have no hurricanes and have a miserable winter. So they're not really tied in directly like that. Got a little science corner for you here now. We had a dust devil sighting today in Slaughters, Kentucky. You see it back here. You got to look carefully. You'll see all the corn stalks whizzing around out there. This is Ryan Morseman. Shot the video along 136 there in Slaughters. And, we are in that time of the year. Once the corn has been combined and, you got stuff in the fields, when the wind picks it up, you really have a trace there, something where you can see the circulation. And if it were a little dustier, you might even see some dust going up into a kind of a funnel. They are akin to tornadoes, of course, much weaker, and they form a little differently. In fact, the only similarity is they're both areas of low pressure, kind of localized. The dust devil, very localized. The tornado is more on a micro scale, but basically you need daytime heating, and that heat rises, and as it does so, it creates an area of low pressure. Remember, rising air then kind of creates a void here, so the surrounding air moves in to fill where the air rose up. And when that happens, sometimes you'll get a spin going. And once that happens, it kind of perpetuates itself. Meaning if it starts to spin, it gets a little dust and corn stalks and whatnot in it, it will take off. Now, of course, it won't last forever. And the process that builds a dust devil is also the one and helps it to self-sustain is also the one that kills it off, because eventually it either ingests some cool air or it does something else to interrupt or break that circulation, and your dust devil goes away. So they are fascinating to watch. They're generally harmless. You can run through one if you close your eyes, because there's usually a lot of dust and sand and stuff blowing around in there. You don't want to get that in your eye. Betty Hagedorn says, thanks. Well, I don't think I really gave you much to go on there. In September, as I said, that's kind of the peak of tropical season. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a little bit of rain move that way. Just pack for both, And if you can go to Martha's Vineyard, there's a ferry that goes out there. My wife and I went there for our anniversary. When was that? Well, it's been a few years back. And we ride a tandem bike. So we took our tandem with us, because you don't have cars on Martha's Vineyard, or there aren't many. And so you can have cars on Martha's Vineyard. It's Mackinac, you can't have cars. But anyway, we had this bike and we rode all over Cape Cod, or Martha's Vineyard. Very beautiful place. When we went to Aquina, we did take a bus. That's where they had the very colorful cliffs on the east side of the island. Okay, I think that's all the travel tips I can dispense there. It was fun. It was a very kind of quaint place. In New England, they say that where we were, which I think was Oak Grove or something like that, that it's honky tonk, and then Edgartown is the kind of the snooty hooties. Of course, we were in the honky tonk area. They weren't going to let people from Indiana on the other parts. But yeah, it's a real pretty place. So check it out. But you're going to be on Cape Cod, and that's fine too. You get over the Bourne Bridge, and then you're good to go. I've got family all up in that area, so I've not been out on the Cape, but I have been to Rhode Island, Newport, places like that, and then, as I said, Martha's Vineyard. Okay, enough of the travel log here. Let's see if we got any more questions. I just kind of got talking too much. Oh, you are planning to go there. Well, good. Okay. Maybe we'll have a travel show on here. That'll be the next in my continuing series of streaming programs. All right, I think that wraps us up here then. We'll go ahead and sign off now. I'll see you on 14 News at 10, and then we'll do it all over again tomorrow. So you all have a great night. Stay safe, and thank you so much for watching.